It might be in order. Okay, next up we're going to hear from Lake Resources, who are working down in Argentina, and to tell you all about it, their Managing Director, Steve Promnitz. Steve.
Thank you very much. We've just got a brief moment while we get the presentation up. We've been focused in Argentina since the government changed about 2.25 years ago. For those of you familiar, Argentina was somewhat of a no-go investment destination. And we turned up in Argentina as soon as the new government had their feet under the desk. At that time, there were large tracts of ground that were available, and lithium was not something that was a key focus of Argentina at that time. And we were fortunate in being able to put together quite a large property package. It's one of the largest lease holdings on the ASX or the TSX for lithium. This slide really summarises the approach to the whole company. As I said, we are an exploration development company. We have 3 lithium brine and 1 hard rock projects in Argentina. And this provides a scale and the potential security supply for potential offtake partners and strategic investors that we've been speaking to. And it's not just moose pasture, it's prime location amongst the majors. We are in exactly the same basin as Orocobre on the ASX and SQM in their joint venture with Lithium Americas and the TSX. We will be drilling those in the coming months. We also have a very large project called Kachi in Catamarca province. This has attracted a lot of attention due to its scale, over 50,000 hectares. All of these are owned 100%, and it's a little south of FMC, which has just been rolled into the DuPont portfolio for lithium. Relatively modest market cap, between 30 and 40 million. We're financed for this year, having recently closed a capital raise, and as the options are converted, depending on how the share price tracks, but with a reasonable news flow, we expect those options to convert, and that'll deliver another 6 or 7 million into the kitty prior to year end. So we're financed for this calendar year and probably well into next. Their prime locations, we just heard the prior presenter talking about the north of Chile. Argentina has no restrictions on, doesn't have the issues of lithium being a strategic metal. And they're very pro-development, certainly in Catamarca, where we're operating at the Kachi project. And the advantage of our work at Olaroz Cauchari is it's right next to current production and the project's being developed by SQM. What's also advantageous is that the corporate deals that have been done on immediately adjoining tenements demonstrate the underlying value here. We're going to have a lot of news flow this year with drilling at Olaroz Cauchari, the results coming out from Kachi in the next few weeks, and then leading into resource and scoping studies. If we look at our comparisons, LKE is on the right-hand side in yellow, and we can see the growth of the neighbouring companies around our projects at Olaroz Cauchari in blue, and also around our Kachi project in orange. So there's significant scope for many times uplift over the near term with the market cap based on even a modicum of news. And it's interesting that the uplift that is created with a partner, that can come to many times growth, and this isn't arm waving, this has actually been proven on the companies that are immediately adjacent to us. So as mentioned, the timeline here on the right-hand side, we're going to have Kachi drill results coming in the next few weeks, and that will flow through into September, into a resource statement and a scoping study. Our drilling at Olaroz Cauchari will be commencing in about 3 months' time prior to that geophysics. And the advantage of that is we've got proven numbers right next to us. So if we just look at Kachi, for example, this is owned on a 100% basis we've got the entire basin tied up, and the distance between these two drill holes is over 11 kilometres, and it just goes to show the scale of these projects. It's very hard. We all present at A4, we all present on the same size image, but when you stand out here, these really do cover a large area. We've been delayed somewhat on the project, 3 or 4 months behind. We started drilling last November. Perversely, we actually encountered exactly the horizons we wanted. Very permeable and brine-filled sands, but unfortunately these are actually quite hard to drill. So we now have 3 rigs on site, 2 rotary and 1 diamond, to try and advance this so that we can get a resource out in the second half of the year. This is just some of the images and some of the drilling. Some people have asked me about this lumpy stuff you see in these images. That's because the sun is so intense here. The salt forms into blocks more than a metre across. It just gives you an idea of the hyperidity and intense solar activity. Then moving north to Cauchari, in yellow is our leases. Immediately adjoining us is SQM with Lithium Americas and Advantage Lithium. Literally a sand wedge shot across our lease boundary is the drill rig, which you can see in the photo at the adjoining leases and the SQM camp behind. Thanks to these lovely neighbours, they've already encountered results north of 600 milligrams per litre lithium, very high flow rates, and they're going to be bringing out a resource in the next 6 weeks, and that'll be lovely because it's just before we start drilling, and we'll be able to demonstrate, with any luck, very similar things on our leases. The rationale behind it is that the basins are faulted on the edges. These brines are quite dense and they descend. This was an idea of ours a couple of years ago based on a review of all of northwestern Argentina. It's been great to see that theory come into fruition on the adjoining leases, and we aim to then do a proof of concept as we drill this, and that should go up the resource statement curve fairly quickly, owing to the amount of information in the district. Then a little further north, here at Olaroz, you can see that we've got a little over 30 kilometres of leases immediately adjoining Orocobre's production leases, and we're going to be targeting the same boundary of the salt lakes to encounter similar brines in our drilling. Separate to that, we also have quite a large pegmatite belt. It's 150 kilometres long. This is an area that's had past production, but relatively small. Lithium here went into the glass sector, and our idea is to find more of a West Australian style target where the pegmatites swarm, and we could find a suitable open pit target. But within a 150 kilometre long belt, if this was in Western Australia, there'd be 15 different companies here. So it's just an advantage of being an early mover. An experienced board. I worked in South America for 6 years in the 90s, and then on and off since then. Nick Lindsay, who joined our board last year, 25 years in Argentina, Chile, Peru. He's more of a metals engineering and process guy. My background has been more in project development and exploration and finance. Stu Crowe, our chairman, has been in the capital markets for more than 30 years, and a great team on the ground of geoscientists who've worked in this sector for some time. And so our way to unlock deep value is through the drilling results, through resource statements. Our recent access to the Olaroz Cauchari area, unfortunately, we're frozen out there for nearly 2 years until 6 weeks ago, and we've signed an agreement with the province to ensure that the tenure of our leases so that we can start drilling. And we've had a series of discussions with people in mainland China and Korea and also India to say the sort of information that's coming down the pipe, and they have expressed interest to follow this space. And once we move through a resource statement and demonstrate some of the chemistry of the brines, the sort of strategic partnership that we've seen in other companies where there's been equity and debt commitments for development. Thank you very much.